Today we are going to dive deep into the foreign relations of ancient India. For ages, a number of foreign travelers, Greeks, Romans, Chinese, Tibetans, Iranians and Central Asians visited India. This gives us a detailed written record of foreign relations of ancient India. Although while writing the script, I realized that the topic Indo-Greek relationship alone is vast. Therefore, in this video, we are going to discuss about ancient Greek and ancient Indian relationship. Let us begin. We find many references in which King Ashoka, one of the most globally advanced kings of India, had his reach throughout the world. There are references to the Greeks in the rock edicts of Ashoka. On certain occasions, the word Greek was used to refer to the Hellenic kingdom. Antiochus II of Syria is more frequently mentioned. The other Hellenistic kings where Ashoka sent missions to establish mutual relations were Ptolemy II from Philadelphia of Egypt, Megas of Cyrene, Antigonus Gonatas of Macedonia and Alexander of Epirus. No, he is not the Alexander the Great. Ashoka was supported by India's highest visionary and foreign policy maker Chanakya. We are going to discuss about the great Chanakya in another video. For now, let us continue with the topic. Ancient Greece and Ancient India relations. The Greeks referred to the ancient Indians as Indoi, which means people of the Indus River. The Indians referred to the Greeks as Yonas or Yavnas in reference to the Ionians. Mythology and legends. Megasthenes wrote about the prehistoric arrival of the god Dionysus in India. He also wrote about the prehistoric arrival of Heracles in India, who is better known as Hercules. Pande was a daughter of Heracles whom he fathered in India. He gave her the southern part of India which is by the sea and she was a queen there. The most revered river of India, Ganges, was personified by the Greeks as a river god. In Greek anthology, Philodemus wrote that Perseus, who was a demigod, son of Zeus and a mortal woman, was in love with the Indian Andromeda. Dictys Cretensis, author of a pseudo-chronicle of the Trojan War, wrote that Memnon, the son of Tithonus and Aurora, arrived with a large army of Indians, a truly remarkable army which consisted of thousands and thousands of men with various kinds of arms, and surpassed the hopes and prayers even of Priam, the king of Troy. Greek writers wrote that there were cynocephali or dog-headed tribes in India. Aulus Gellius in Attic Nights mentioned that some writers wrote also about a tribe in farthest India with bodies that are rough and covered with feathers like birds, who eat no food but live by inhaling the perfume of flowers. Eratosthenes said that the Macedonians, seeing a cavern in the land of the Peripamessadians, and hearing a certain legend which was current among the natives, spread the report that this forsooth was the cave where Prometheus had been bound. According to Greek legends, Prometheus was a titan, who stole the sacred fire from the gods, to give it to human. He was later punished by Zeus, who bound him to a rock, where his liver would be eaten by an eagle, but the next the liver will grow back to be eaten by the eagle again. According to the Latin letter from Alexander the Great to Aristotle, a creature called Odontotyrannos attacked Alexander's men at their camp in India. Aristotle and Ctesias wrote that there were Indian donkeys which were one-horned. Animals similar to unicorns. In reality they might have been talking one-horned rhino, which indigenous to India. Herodotus wrote about gold-digging ants in India which were smaller than dogs but larger than foxes. Aelian wrote that the Indian ants which guard the gold will not cross the river Campilinus. According to the Greeks, the Indian dragons were a breed of giant serpents which could fight and strangle the elephants of India. Also according to them, at Taprobana, which is modern-day Sri Lanka, there were cedia or sea monsters with different forms. Ancient Greek sources are also mentioning about a breed of gigantic worms in India. Coinage and inscriptions. The Kushan Empire used the Greek alphabet and on their coins they used Greek legends. They also adopted other elements of the Greek culture of the Hellenistic kingdoms. Art themes derived from Greek mythology were common initially but later Buddhist imagery dominated. The Nahapana, ruler of the western Kshatrapas, established the Kshatrapa coinage, derived from Indo-Greek coinage. The obverse of the coins consists of the profile of the ruler with a legend in Greek, while the reverse represents a thunderbolt and an arrow, within Brahmi and Kharosthi legends. Art and literature. In Sophocles' work, Antigone, Creon mentions the gold of India. In Greek anthology, India and Indians are mentioned in many occasions. The Indian theatre had adopted some elements of the Greek comedy. Kalidasa mentioned the Yayanis or Greek maidens in his work. Historians and geographers. Herodotus in his work Histories, includes important remarks on India. Tejas in his work Indica records the beliefs and view of the Persians about India. Ephorus wrote that the Indians inhabit a country in the east near sunrise. Xenophon in his work Cyropedia mentioned India and the Indians. Aristobulus of Cassandria wrote about the customs and the animals of India. Pseudo-Simnus wrote in Circuit of the Earth that Indians occupy almost all the land toward the east. Eratosthenes attempted to calculate the exact size and shape of India, relying on reports written by travelers. Dionysius Periegetes described how Indians looked like. Strabo described India in his work Geographica. He referred to India several times during the course of the book, and he devoted Book 15 to an extended description of the country. Stephanus of Byzantium wrote about geographical, mythological, and religious information about India. Astronomy and astrology. Greek astronomical texts were translated into Sanskrit. Yavanesvara translated the Yavana Jataka from Greek to Sanskrit. The Gargi Samhita states, "The Yavnas or the Greeks are barbarians, yet the science of astronomy originated with them, and for this they must be respected." Philosophy and religion. The philosopher Pyrrho accompanied Alexander the Great on his Indian campaign. According to Diogenes Laertius, Pyrrho developed his philosophy of Pyrrhonism in India when Pyrrho was there during the conquest of Alexander the Great. According to the scholar, Christopher I. Beckwith's analysis, Pyrrho's philosophy was strikingly similar to the Buddhist three marks of existence, indicating that Pyrrho's teaching is based on Buddhism. Diogenes Laertius wrote that Anaxarchus, Pyrrho's teacher, met and spoke with Indian gymnosophists and magi. Buddhism flourished under the Indo-Greeks, leading to the Greco-Buddhist cultural syncretism. The arts of the Indian subcontinent were also quite affected by Hellenistic art during and after these interactions. Menander I was one of the patrons of Buddhism. He also was the subject of the Milinda Panha. Dharmaraksita was a Greek who was converted to Buddhism. He was one of the missionaries sent by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka to proselytize Buddhism. Mahadharmaraksita was a Greek Buddhist master, who according to Mavasa traveled to Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka together with 30,000 Greek Buddhist monks from Alexandria of the Caucasus. In addition, Mavasa mentioned how early Buddhists from Sri Lanka went to Alexandria of the Caucasus to learn Buddhism. The Kandahar Greek Edicts of Ashoka, which are among the Ashoka's major rock edicts of the Indian Emperor Ashoka, were written in the Greek language. In addition, the Kandahar bilingual rock inscription was written in Greek and Aramaic. Ashoka used the word eusebia or piety as a Greek translation for the central Buddhist and Hindu concept of dharma in the Kandahar bilingual rock inscription. Ptolemy II of Philadelphus is also mentioned in the Edicts of Ashoka as a recipient of the Buddhist proselytism of Ashoka. In a rock edict of Ashoka it said, "Now it is conquest by Dhamma that beloved servant of the gods considers to be the best conquest. And it has been won here, on the borders, even 600 yojanas away, where the Greek king Antiochos rules, beyond there where the four kings named Ptolemy, Antigonos, Megas and Alexander rule, likewise in the south among the Cholas, the Pundyas, and as far as Tamarparni." Buddhist gravestones from the Ptolemaic Egypt have been found in Alexandria decorated with depictions of the Dharma wheel, showing the presence of Buddhists in Hellenistic Egypt. Buddhist manuscripts in cursive Greek, dated later than the 2nd century AD, have been found in Afghanistan. Some mention the Loksvararaja Buddha. The peripatetic philosopher Clearchus of Soli traveled to the east to study Indian religions. The peripatetic philosopher Theophrastus, in his book on history of plants, contains an excursus on Indian species. Also, in his work on stones, describe rocks, stones and gems that are produced in India. The peripatetic philosopher Aristocles of Messene, cited by the Christian polemicist Eusebius, said an Indian conversed with Socrates in Athens. And Aristoxenus the musician said that this argument comes from the Indians. For a man of that people met Socrates in Athens and asked him what his philosophy was about, and when he said that he was investigating human life, the Indian laughed at him, saying that no one could understand human affairs if he ignored the divine. The Neoplatonic philosopher Ammonius Saccas may have been of Shakayan Indian descent. Varahamihara, in a passage where he calls on the people to honor the Brahmins, said, "The Greeks, though impure, must be honored, since they are trained in sciences, and therein excelled others." What, then, are we to say of a Brahmin, if he combines with his purity the height of science? Scythianus traveled to India several times during the 1st century CE. He studied Indian philosophy there. He eventually settled in Alexandria, Egypt, and became a religious teacher. Political and military. During the Second Persian invasion of Greece, the Persian army had Indian troops, both infantry and cavalry. At the Battle of Gaugamela, Darius used Indian troops against Alexander the Great. Later, during the Indian campaign, Alexander's army fought many battles against Indian tribes and kingdoms. According to Indian sources, Greek troops seem to have assisted Chandragupta Maurya in toppling the Nanda dynasty and founding the Mauryan Empire. Later, Seleucus I army encountered Chandragupta army. Chandragupta and Seleucus finally concluded an alliance. Seleucus gave him his daughter in marriage, ceded the territories of Arachosia, Herat, Kabul and Makran, and he received 500 war elephants. Bindusara, the second Mauryan emperor of India, had diplomatic relations and very friendly feelings towards the Greeks. He even asked from Antiochus I Soter to send him a Greek sophist for his court. Megasthenes had traveled to India and had several interviews with Chandragupta Maurya, who is known as Sandrocottus to the Greeks. Ptolemy II Philadelphus is recorded by Pliny the Elder as having sent an ambassador named Dionysius to the Mauryan court at Pataliputra in India, probably to Emperor Ashoka. Asoka also appointed some Greeks in high offices of state called Yavanaraja, meaning Greek king or governor, for example the Tashasva. In addition, in his edicts mention about a Yona or Greek province on the northwest border of India, most probably the Arachosia. The Heliodorus pillar is a stone column that was erected around 110 BCE in present-day central India in Vidisha, by Heliodorus, a Greek ambassador of the Indo-Greek king Antialcidas to the court of the Shunga king Bhagabhadra. The site is located about 5 miles from the Buddhist stupa of Sanchi. Tamil poems describe the Greek soldiers who served as mercenaries for Indian kings as the valiant Idyavnas, whose bodies were strong and of terrible aspect. The Silapatikaram mention Yavna soldiers who, according to scholars, is reference to the Greek mercenaries who employed by the Tamil kings. Patanjali, the commentator of Pini, describes 2 sieges that the Greeks made. The siege of Saketa and the siege of Madhyamaka. Dimachus, who was an ambassador to the court of the Bindusara, also wrote about India. Even, Chanakya mentioned Greeks and their polities in his Arthashastra. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider to hit the like button, also share the video and do consider subscribing to the channel. Your like, share, comments and subscribe will motivate me and keep making more videos.